Baby, I need you to know this right here, right now. Sadness is not a sign that you're weak. It's not an indictment on your strength. It's not something you have to run from, hide from, or pretend doesn't exist. Because sadness is part of the human experience. And learning how to walk through it, learning how to dance with it without letting it take you under, is one of the most powerful journeys you'll ever take. And I've been there, sitting in the dark with tears rolling down my face, wondering if anyone could even hear the silent screams of my soul. And in those moments, I discovered something I never would have found in the sunshine. I discovered my resilience. I discovered that there is a version of me that can break and still rebuild, that can cry and still rise, that can feel every single ache in my spirit and still say, I'm not done yet. And baby, you have that same power. You have that same bounce back in your bones. But you have to stop pretending you don't feel what you feel just to make other people comfortable. You have to stop telling yourself it's not okay to cry, because sometimes those tears are the most sacred release, the gateway to clarity, the proof that your heart still works, still beats, still hopes. And sadness doesn't mean your light went out. It just means there's a cloud passing through. And clouds don't stop the sun from existing. They just block it for a little while. But baby, the sun is still there. And so is your joy, so is your peace, so is your purpose. And when it gets hard to remember that, you've got to do what I did, get still. Get quiet and get honest. Because the healing doesn't happen when you outrun your emotions. It happens when you turn around, face them, and say, I see you, I feel you, but you're not going to define me. And in that honesty, you reclaim your power, you reclaim your voice, and you give yourself permission to take up space even in your sadness to say, yes, I'm hurting, but I'm also healing. And that shift is where everything changes. Because you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming the author of your response to them. And when you do that, you begin to see sadness not as the end, but as a bridge to the next version of you, the stronger, wiser, deeper version of you that's being carved out through the very thing you thought would break you. And listen, sometimes you need support. Sometimes you need to pick up the phone and let somebody in, not because you're broken, but because healing happens in connection. And letting people love you in your lowest moments doesn't make you needy, it makes you human. And baby, we were never meant to do this life alone. So ask for help. Seek out the tools. Take the walk. Write the journal entry. Scream into the pillow. Let the grief move through your body like a storm, and trust that just like a storm, it won't last forever. And when the clouds finally part, when the light comes back in, you'll be different. You'll be wiser. You'll be softer in the places that used to be hard, and stronger in the places that used to be fragile. And you'll understand that sadness isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. And the lesson it's trying to give you isn't about staying stuck. It's about coming home to yourself in a way you never have before, about learning to love yourself, not just when you're shining, but when you're struggling too, because you are worthy of grace, you are worthy of compassion, and you are worthy of showing up fully, even in the process of becoming. And baby, let me tell you, when I was in the pit of my sadness, when my joy felt like a distant memory and my smile was something I had to fake just to get through the day, I had to remind myself that even though I was broken, I was still breathing. And as long as I was breathing, I still had fight left in me, even if it was just a whisper. Even if it was just the smallest flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow could feel different. And I leaned into that flicker. I protected it like it was the last ember in the fire. And I blew on it with every affirmation I could muster. I'm still here. I'm not giving up. This feeling is real, but it's not forever, because sadness will lie to you. Baby, sadness will try to convince you that your best days are behind you, that nobody sees you, that nobody cares. But I'm here to tell you right now that that's a lie, because you matter, you are needed, and the very breath in your body is evidence that your purpose hasn't been fulfilled yet. So don't you dare let sadness steal your destiny. Don't you dare let that temporary emotion convince you to make permanent decisions, because there's more for you, there's healing for you, there's joy on the other side of this storm. And I know it might not feel like it today, but your tomorrow is waiting on you to keep going, to keep rising, to keep choosing life even when it hurts. And sometimes you have to remind yourself of your wins, not the big flashy ones, but the quiet ones, the days you got out of bed when you didn't want to, the days you fed your body even when your spirit was starving, the days you answered the phone even though you didn't feel like talking, because those are victories, baby. Those are the bricks you're laying on the path back to yourself. And I need you to celebrate that, to give yourself credit for the progress nobody else can see, because healing isn't loud. It's not always visible. It's in the little choices you make every single day to honor your emotions without being ruled by them. And I know sometimes you feel like you're going backwards, like the sadness is creeping back in after you thought you'd already conquered it, but that doesn't mean you failed. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means your heart is processing. And baby, healing is not linear. It's messy. It's unpredictable. It's a dance between grace and grit. And you have to keep showing up for yourself even on the days when all you can do is breathe, because that breath is sacred. That breath is proof that you still have something to offer this world. And I want you to know that joy is not a destination you arrive at, it's a muscle you build. And like any muscle, it needs resistance. It needs struggle. It needs tears and pain to grow stronger. So when you're in the thick of it, when your chest feels heavy and your eyes won't stop watering, I want you to remember that you are building something powerful inside of you, something unshakable. And one day you're going to look back on this chapter, not with shame, but with pride, because you didn't give up, because you kept showing up, because you allowed yourself to feel it all and still move forward. And that, baby, is the definition of strength, not pretending to be okay when you're not, but allowing yourself to be real, to be raw, to be fully human, and still choosing to rise anyway. And baby, I need you to know that your sadness is not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to hide or deny or sweep under the rug like it doesn't belong in your story, because your sadness has been a companion in seasons where no one else understood. It sat beside you in the silence. It held your hand when the world was too loud. And while it may feel heavy, it also holds wisdom. It holds truth. It holds pieces of your humanity that deserve to be acknowledged, not erased. So don't try to numb it. Don't try to outrun it. Don't put on a fake smile just to make everyone else comfortable while you're dying on the Incidino, baby. I want you to sit with it. I want you to look at it and say, I see you, but you don't control me, because your power begins where your honesty lives. And if you can be brave enough to feel it, to face it, to speak it out loud, then you can also be brave enough to heal it, to transform it, to rise above it. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that. I know there are days when the weight of your heart feels like it's pulling you under, like joy is a foreign language you forgot how to speak. But I want you to remember this. Just because you can't feel the sun doesn't mean it's not shining. And just because your joy feels out of reach doesn't mean it's gone forever. It's still inside you. It's just buried beneath the layers of life that have dimmed your light. But baby, you are not your sadness. You are not your darkest thoughts. You are not your wounds or your worries. You are not your failures or your fears. You are a living, breathing, resilient soul who has already made it through 100% of your hardest days. And I want you to take a moment and really think about that. Every storm that tried to break you didn't succeed. Every tear that fell from your eyes didn't drown you. Every night you laid awake, wondering if you'd ever feel whole again, led you here. And you're still standing, maybe trembling, maybe tired, but standing nonetheless, and that means something. That means you're stronger than you realize, more powerful than you know, and more deserving of peace and joy than you've ever believed. So I want you to give yourself permission to rise, permission to release the guilt, the shame, the should haves, and what ifs. And I want you to speak this out loud. I am not broken beyond repair. I am not too far gone. I am healing in my own time and my own way. Because this journey is yours and no one else's. And comparison will only keep you stuck in sadness that doesn't belong to you. So stop looking to the left and the right. Stop measuring your healing against someone else's highlight reel. And instead, look in the mirror and celebrate the version of you who didn't quit, who didn't give up, who is still choosing to believe that better is possible even when the evidence is scarce. And baby, that belief, that tiny flicker of hope, that's your breakthrough in disguise. That's your soul saying, we're not done yet. So don't you dare walk away from yourself now. Not when you've come this far. Not when the breakthrough is closer than it's ever been. And I promise you, on the other side of this sadness is a version of you that's freer, lighter, more joyful, more grounded, more alive. And I don't want you to miss that version of you. I don't want you to settle for surviving when you were born to thrive. So let's take this one breath at a time, one moment at a time. Because healing doesn't rush and it doesn't forsake, simply invites it, whispers, keep going. And baby, that's exactly what I want you to do. And baby, as you keep going, I want you to understand something. Deep in your bone chilling isn't a straight road. It's a winding path with unexpected turns, moments that knock the wind out of you, and days when it feels like you're right back where you started. But hear me, just because you're having a hard moment doesn't mean you've lost all your progress. Just because your heart aches again doesn't mean you're not healing. It means you're human. It means you're still learning how to hold joy and pain in the same breath, how to move forward while still feeling the weight of what you've been through. And baby, that takes courage. That takes real soul deep strength. The kind of strength that no one sees. The kind that shows up when you're crying on the floor and still whispering, I'll try again tomorrow. And I want you to know that's not weakness, that's power. That's you taking your power back inch by inch, even when it doesn't feel like it. And I know the sadness can make you feel like you're stuck in a tunnel with no end, like you're walking through a fog that won't lift, but you have to keep walking. You have to keep choosing to put one foot in front of the other, even if your steps are shaky, even if your voice trembles when you speak your truth, because motion is where healing lives. Movement is where growth begins. And every tear you cry, every journal entry you write, every moment you choose to get out of bed and face the world, even when your heart is heavy, that's all evidence that you are already overcoming, that you are already becoming more than your sadness, more than your struggle. And baby, I know what it's like to feel like nobody understands, to feel like you're walking around with a smile that's only skin deep while your soul is screaming for relief. But I want you to know that you are not alone. And there is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way, because sometimes sadness is a sign that your spirit is craving change, that your heart is yearning for something more aligned with your truth, something more connected to your purpose, and that sadness isn't there to punish you. It's trying to teach you, trying to awaken something inside you that's been buried under expectations and pressure and pain. And if you can stop fighting it, if you can sit still long enough to listen to what it's trying to tell you, you'll start to uncover pieces of your truth that you forgot were there. You'll start to hear the whisper of your inner voice again, the one that says, we can do this, we can get through this, we can rise. And baby, rising doesn't mean you'll never feel sadness again. Rising means you'll know how to honor it without letting it consume you, how to feel it without becoming it, how to hold space for it while still holding on to hope, because hope is the bridge that will carry you out of your darkest season. And I want you to grab hold of it with everything you've got. I want you to plant your feet in faith, even if your knees are shaking, and say, I deserve joy. I deserve healing. I deserve to feel whole again, because you do, baby. You really, truly do. And this world needs you whole. It needs your smile, your story, your lessons, your laugh, your love. And I don't care what the sadness told you. I don't care what lies you've believed about your worth or your future, or your ability to heal you are not broken beyond repair. You are not hopeless. You are not invisible. You are worthy of a joy that doesn't have to be earned, a peace that doesn't have to be chased, and a love that doesn't hurt to hold. And baby, I want you to know that the most powerful version of you is on the other side of your healing, and I know that version of you is ready to rise. And baby, when that sadness comes creeping back in like it does on quiet nights, or in moments when you least expect it, when the memories hit, when the silence feels loud, when the ache in your chest whispers stories of what was lost or what never came to be, I want you to remind yourself that you've already survived so much, that your resilience didn't just show up overnight. It was built moment by moment, tear by tear, breath by breath. Every single time you said, "I'll keep going," when quitting would have been easier. And I know it's tempting to isolate, to curl into yourself, to retreat into the shadows where you think no one will see the mess. But baby, sadness grows in silence. To see it. And baby, you were born worthy. You were born enough, and no amount of sadness, no amount of pain, no moment of failure will ever take that away from you. So I want you to stop treating your sadness like a life sentence and start treating it like a teacher. Because it's here to reveal, not to ruin it. It's here to soften you, not shatter you. It's here to point you back to yourself, not pull you away from your truth. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it hurts. But baby, pain is often the portal to purpose. And the parts of you that hurt the most are often the parts that carry the keys to your greatest healing, your greatest connection, your greatest joy. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that the sadness you thought would break you actually built you, that it carved new space inside your heart for compassion, for empathy, for love deeper than you've ever known. And that version of you that rises from this, she's going to be unstoppable. Not because she never hurt, but because she chose to heal anyway, because she let the cracks become her canvas and let the scars become her story. And baby, that story is going to change lives, starting with your own. And I need you to know, baby, that your sadness does not make you weak, it makes you human. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just be honest about where you are, to say out loud, "I'm not okay right now," without shame, without apology, without trying to pretty it up for people who wouldn't understand the weight of what you're carrying anyway. And when you do that, when you give yourself permission to feel, to be vulnerable, to sit with the ache instead of running from it, that's when your healing truly begins. Because sadness isn't something you escape, it's something you move through. And you've got to trust that there's light on the other side of it. Even if you can't see it yet, even if everything in you wants to shut down and disappear. And baby, I see that fight in you. I see the way you show up with cracked hands and tired eyes, still choosing love, still choosing hope, still choosing life. And that's not small, that's everything. Because it takes a different kind of courage to hope when your heart has been bruised, to keep dreaming when your past keeps trying to convince you that good things don't last. But baby, you've made it through too much to give up now. You've survived too many nights that tried to break you, cried too many tears that watered the ground you're standing on. And all that pain, it wasn't wasted. It planted seeds, it built muscle, it awakened strength you didn't even know you had. And I promise you, there will come a moment when you'll look back and thank the version of you who refused to quit, who whispered just one more day, even when she didn't believe it. And I want you to know that joy is still possible for you. Laughter is still available to you. Freedom is still within your reach. But you've got to decide that you're worthy of it, that you're done letting your sadness narrate your life, done letting fear sit in the driver's seat, done letting loneliness keep you isolated, when connection is what your soul is starving for. And maybe you don't know how to get there yet. Maybe the path feels blurry and uncertain, but clarity doesn't come before the decision, it comes after. After you decide you're done shrinking, after you decide you're done surviving and ready to thrive, after you decide that your story doesn't end in this valley because you were never meant to pitch a tent here, baby, you were meant to walk through it, to grow in it, to rise from it, and let it become the very soil that strengthens your soul and fuels your next level. So hold on, not because it's easy, but because you're worth the fight. Hold on, because your peace is worth protecting, your future is worth creating, your voice is worth hearing, and most of all, your life is worth living, not just existing, not just going through the motions, but truly living. And that starts with believing, even if it's just a flicker right now, that something better is on its way, that joy is coming in the morning, that the same God who carried you through the storm is preparing a sunrise just for you. And all you have to do is keep breathing, keep believing, keep taking the next right step, even if it's slow, even if it's small, because every step forward is sacred. And baby, you're not behind, you're not broken beyond repair, you're in the process, and that's a beautiful place to be. And baby, I know there are days when you wake up and the sadness feels heavier than your body, when getting out of bed feels like a mountain, when brushing your teeth feels like a victory, and showing up for life feels impossible. But I want you to know that you're not alone, not broken, not weak for feeling this way. And even in those moments when you feel like you're drowning in emotions too deep to explain, you are still worthy of love, still worthy of joy, still worthy of healing. And sometimes the bravest thing you'll do all day is simply show up, even if you're dragging yourself forward with trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. And I need you to hear Metha's feeling you're in. It's not forever. It's not your home. It's a chapter, not the whole book. And even though your sadness speaks in a voice that sounds like truth, telling you that you'll never get better, never feel peace, never rise again, you have to learn to challenge that voice, to talk back to that sadness with compassion and courage, to tell yourself, I am not my emotions, I am not my pain, I am not my worst day. Because the sadness will try to name you, will try to claim you, but your identity was never meant to be defined by a temporary emotion. It was meant to be rooted in your divine strength, your purpose, your resilience, and every time you choose to fight back, every time you choose to hope, even when the evidence says otherwise, you're rewriting your story in real time. And I know it doesn't feel glamorous. I know it's not always Instagram worthy or polished, but baby, healing isn't pretty, it's messy, it's raw, it's real. And sometimes it looks like crying in the shower, journaling until your hand cramps, reaching out for help when you'd rather suffer in silence, or choosing to speak life over yourself when all you feel is darkness. And that's what strength looks like in the real world. That's what healing looks like when you're doing the inner work. And no, it's not instant. And no, it's not linear, but it is worth it every single time, because you are reclaiming your power, one breath at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. And every moment you choose to keep going, even with a heavy heart, you are honoring the future version of yourself that's going to look back and say, I'm so proud I didn't give up. And I need you to trust that that version of you is real, that version of you is possible, and that version of you is coming. Because you were made to rise, you were made to shine, you were made to overcome, and sadness does not get to write your final chapter. You do, with boldness, with grace, with fire in your soul. And baby, it's okay if today all you can do is breathe, all you can do is whisper, I'm trying, because trying is enough, breathing is enough, showing up is enough, and you are enough exactly as you are in this moment, on this journey. And no matter how many times you fall, you have the right and the power to get back up again. And I need you to really understand this right now. Baby, sadness is not a sign that you're weak. It's a signal that you've been strong for too long, without rest, without release, without letting yourself be fully human. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel the depth of your emotions without shaming yourself for them. Because what you feel is valid, what you carry is real, and what you need is healing, not hiding, not pretending, not performing. And I know this world can teach you to suppress your pain, to numb out your heart, to wear a smile as your armor while your spirit is breaking underneath. But that's not the way you're going to rise. That's the way you disappear from yourself. And you've already spent too long disappearing, too long neglecting the care your soul cries out for, too long believing that your sadness made you unlovable or broken or behind in life. And now is the time to flip that script, to say no more, to look in the mirror and tell yourself, my feelings matter. My heart deserves tending, and I will not be silent about my sorrow, because when you give voice to what hurts, when you stop masking your pain and start meeting it with gentleness, you begin to heal in places that once felt impossible to touch. And it might not happen overnight. It might take weeks, months, years of grace, of self-awareness, of therapy, of deep conversations with yourself and God. But each small act of self-honoring becomes a brick in the foundation of your wholeness. And baby, I want you to know that the tears you've cried have not been wasted. The nights you've prayed for strength did not go unheard. The moments when you thought you couldn't go on but did anyway, that is where your power was forged, in the unseen battles and silent victories. And now you're being called to rise with all of that strength, to step into a new chapter, not because the pain vanished, but because you chose to move with it, through it, and beyond it. And yes, it's okay to still feel it sometimes, to have waves crash in out of nowhere. But that doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. And being human means being willing to feel, being brave enough to face the shadows and still walk toward the light. And baby, the light is still in you. It's not something you have to earn or chase. It's always been there, even if sadness tried to dim it. And this next chapter of your life is about reconnecting to that light, honoring it, feeding it with truth, reminding yourself every day that you are worthy of joy, worthy of laughter, worthy of healing, even on your darkest days. And you don't have to do it alone, because asking for help is not a weakness, it's a warrior's move. And I promise you, the more you reach out, the more you realize there are people who want to hold space for you, people who will love you in your sadness, not in spite of it, but because of it, because your vulnerability is your superpower and your honesty is your strength. And the more real you are, the more healing can find you. And baby, you deserve that healing, not because you've earned it through perfection, but because your humanity is enough of a reason. Your breath is enough of a reason. Your existence is enough of a reason. And you don't have to keep proving your worth by suffering in silence. You can rise fully seen, fully held, fully healed, one tender step at a time.